Bob, you're muted.
Nope. Can you hear us, Bob?
How about now?
There you go.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. What a day. So technical difficulties for the last 10 or 15 minutes, but good afternoon. This is public hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on November 10th, 2021, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and regulations. My name is Bob Rawls and I serve as the chair. Hearings are broadcast live on Channel 18 and also recorded for the on-demand archives and available on the town's website. Please let me know if anyone else is recording this meeting. Today's hearing is being conducted via remote video conference, originally pursuant to the governor's emergency COVID order, and now under an order allowing remote public meetings through April 1st, 2022. The agenda and copies of documents for review today are posted on the town's website. To all participants, please remain muted unless you are speaking. If you are attending via phone, mute using *6 and use *6 again to unmute. After presentations by applicants and/or their representatives, I will normally ask for comments and questions from commissioners, then the same from any interested parties. If you're on the Teams platform, indicate that you wish to speak by using the raise hand feature. If you're attending by phone, please unmute with *6 and address the chair. When recognized by the chair, please identify yourself for the record. If you're not a commissioner and you are on the Teams platform, please keep your camera turned off unless you are speaking. The commission will vote on each matter by roll call. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Bob Del Vecchio.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Karen Latin.
Present.
Terry Sullivan.
Present.
Mary Sullivan.
Present.
Associate Member Trina Francisconi. I don't hear Trina. And Associate Member William Doherty. Looks like neither are here, and I am here today. So we have a quorum. This being the second Wednesday of the month, we must finish today's hearing by 4:30 in order to not conflict with another broadcast on Channel 18. This gives us 3.5 hours to conduct our business, which we're starting late today. So that we can hear every application on the agenda, we may need to continue those for which the discussion becomes overly protracted. Nicole Smith, Nikki Smith, is Chatham's conservation agent, and I'll now ask her to lead us through the agenda, including whether any items are being continued.
I do not believe that we have any continued items. The first thing is a notice of intent for 158 Oldfield Bend. Andrew Wiley and Allison McVie Wiley, map 14J, parcel R60, SE10. Actually, I don't believe we've gotten SE numbers for our 3 new ones as of yesterday anyway, and I haven't seen any emails today as well. This is landscape alterations and invasive management.
Good afternoon, David Clark Engineering. As Nikki stated, this is largely a invasive species mitigation project, as well as some changes to the hardscape on the property. So, starting with the mitigation, the invasive species control, the slope down to the inland wetland is heavily vegetated with non-natives and invasives, and the proposal is to remove all that and do a replant with natives as shown on the restoration landscape plan. The other aspects of the project, the owners are finding it difficult or worrisome going in and out of the garage, in that they back up very close to the slope down to the wetland. It appears that the driveway was bigger at one time, but the retaining wall, the timber retaining walls that were there have all decomposed, and the what's confining the driveway is starting to slough down the slope. So the proposal is to rebuild that retaining wall a little bit outboard of what's there now, and do a small expansion.
Hello?
And
Dropped out there, David. You're back.
well, you can't hear me, or you can?
You just dropped out for a moment, and now you're back.
Oh, okay. So there is an expansion in the no disturb zone. All this work is within 50. Most of the work is within 50 feet of the wetland. So as mitigation for the expansion, we're removing a significant portion of the paved driveway and resurfacing it with either shell or stone. Additional mitigation for stormwater runoff will be a catchment system that'll not only pick up runoff from the driveway, but pick up a couple of downspouts from the building. So the amount of pavement that's being converted to semi-pervious is greater than the net overall increase. Other work in the no disturb zone, you'll see if you've been out to the site, there are the invasives are right up to the deck, and there's no footpath anymore to get around that side of the house. So the idea is to remove those invasives and establish a permanent path up to the existing patio that's off the south side of the house, and then continue on with a footpath to a new fire pit area that's outside the 100-foot. Some of the retaining walls on the north side of the property are all treated timbers, and the proposal there is to redo that whole area and do a masonry wall system as a replacement. That's it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer questions. Tim Kent is the contractor. Oh, it looks like he's finally in. So if you have questions, Tim's here to speak about the actual work to be done.
It's an interesting sound. Mr. Timothy, do you wish to say anything as part of a presentation?
Dave pretty much covered everything. It's actually a good project. As far as clients are clients are great people, and they want to make sure everything's done right and follow the rules, so to speak. So it's a good project. And yeah, I'm at a shooting match.
Is that what that is? All right. Yeah. Okay. You feel free to mute yourself then. All right. All right. So I will just open this up at this time for questions, comments from commissioners. And we have Mary, first out of the gate.
Just a quick question, which may be on the plans, but I didn't see it. When I walk by the site, there is several snags or downed pine and trees very close to the wetland area. Are they going to be removed at all, or they're just left as is?
David Clark here. That's how this project started. Tim approached me about doing a plan to remove those snags, and a year later, while you're at it, the project grew to what you see now, to a more comprehensive management of that buffer zone. So yes, those snags are part of the removal, is part of the project.
Okay.
Well, since is that it, Mary?
Yes, just thanks for the clarification. Thanks.
Of course, there are those who believe that snags are not necessarily a bad thing. They provide habitat for birds, woodpeckers, etc. So I guess we'll ask Timothy this is, are you making a distinction? Once you tell us what you are planning on doing with regard to the snags and the down trees? Maybe he didn't hear me.
I heard that.
Okay.
I got you now. I just hit the wrong button. I'll go with whatever the commission wants. I mean, we can get the ones that are nearest the house. There's ones that were down below, that were closer to the road, and we can certainly clean up what would need to be cleaned up. And if there was something you guys wanted left behind, I can leave a majority of it so that everything's safe and get the vines and everything off, anything of that nature. But as far as if you guys want a few snags in there, I'm happy to leave them.
All right. Well, we'll deal with that then at the appropriate time. All right, Janet.
Thanks, Bob. So Tim, and I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask this to, but on the plan that's designated as a planting plan,
Yep.
the area that's shaded in pink and bordered by light green, is that the invasive species management area or a walkway, or what does that pink denote? I couldn't find the legend to explain.
I can't. Oh, I'm looking at it.
Oh,
now.
Laurie, she's on the call. Laurie Tarr
Yeah.
Ellsworth is on this. It's a question for her then.
Yes.
Yep. Hi, Laurie. Are you there?
Actually,
She's muted.
David Clark here. Yeah, that is my fault. That is a plan I highlighted with questions that I sent back to Lori before we filed, and I forgot to turn that off. So
Okay.
that is not highlighting anything special other than the footpaths, and I will get you a PDF of the proper plan.
Okay. Well, okay. That answers that. David, while I have you, could you just walk me through? There's a number of things happening with a number of the retaining walls. So the one that runs behind the house, holding back the hillside, that is currently faced in with concrete, that's just going to be faced with stone? Is that
correct? Yep. So that retaining wall is poured concrete, so that'll stay, and have a new surface put on it. But on the north end where it terminates, it transitions to timber, and then we're going to replace all that.
So that's what's showing on this plan we're looking at the top.
Yes.
Okay. And the wall that's running along right down the middle on the western side of the developed area, that's the new wall that's going in to keep the driveway from going into the wetland?
Correct.
All right, so that's how that's going to work. That's the new one. So in the calculation of increase, I think you've got 95 square feet that's coming from the new retaining walls, 205 square feet for the part of the pathway that's within the jurisdiction area. A good part of it and the fire pit are not. So I'm assuming that's right. So does that mean that's about 300? So the other 4 something is the driveway expansion?
205 is the footpath, 95 is the retaining wall, so that's 300. So 377 is the driveway expansion.
Driveway, okay. And how much of the asphalt is being removed? That there's more asphalt being removed than there is impact. So out of more than 677?
I believe so. I thought
It might be here.
the commission would be interested in that. I might have put it in the narrative. Let me just scan that real quick.
Is it in the narrative, Bob? Did I miss that?
Yeah. Well, you mean as far as how much coverage is increasing?
In the narrative, he says
677.
677 is the total coverage.
Yes.
And we now can tell that 377 of that is the expansion of the driveway. My question is, part of what we're looking at as mitigation is the conversion of asphalt to.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't see that.
So in the oh, sorry, I'm talking over somebody. I apologize. In the post-construction mitigation measures in the narrative, number 2, says 1,160 square feet of asphalt will be removed and replaced with pervious shell surface.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed that.
No, it was not in a logical place. So.
Okay. There's a reference, I guess this is for Tim, to general pruning as part of the project. Can that be made somewhat more specific besides the removal of this? And I think we're going to come to some kind of a agreement on the snags that cause a risk to the house or the driveway, and the other ones can remain. But what else is the general pruning going to be comprised of?
So the general pruning would be what I would consider it's a class 2-3 by ANSI standards. So essentially coming up the driveway, anything that's hanging over the driveway, in a down too low, basically lifting the branching up some, making sure there's dead wood that's removed. Nothing crazy. It's all pretty much all, as I call it, good general pruning. So if something needs it, it gets it, but we're not going crazy and, pruning something back super hard, just keeping things away from the house, keeping things away from other trees, making it so everybody wants to get along well, essentially.
Yep. So you would be okay then if we put in a condition that before that work gets started, it'll be at the pre-construction meeting, Nicole will be able to see
Absolutely.
what's being proposed. Okay, that works.
Yep.
All right, that's all I have for the moment.
All right.
Thank you, Janet. Bob.
Okay, so we have the path coming around the house, and then there's a set of stairs leading to the back end of the property. Those stairs are unsafe. Those are going to be rebuilt, correct, David?
Yes, yeah. Everything that's timber is basically going to be rebuilt.
Yeah. And the stone wall, that's just going to be dry laid, correct? Along the driveway.
I don't have an answer for that.
Where it needs to retain, probably not. I think it's going to be, very similar to the construction where you already have the poured wall. We were really thinking of using, block and then refacing the block so everything matches.
Oh, okay, so it's actually going to be just poured concrete then with a stone facing then?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm in favor of leaving some snags in place as well. I know there's a big dead pitch pine on its side, kind of like in the middle there, right by the road. I think that could be removed, but as far as the snags go, I think they provide some, wildlife value. So I would be in favor of leaving those as well. Other than that,
and I'm happy.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say I'm happy. As far as we'll have a site meeting, and we can point out the ones to stay, the ones to go, and just have an agreement that way we know where we're at.
Yes, okay. And you mentioned the Leyland Cypress. Are you going to be touching those at all?
Actually, we want to remove those. We want those to come out and then be replanted. I thought that was noted.
I think you mentioned them that they were too close to the house, but at least I didn't see anything saying that they would be removed and replaced. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think if I'm just looking at the plan, and I think that they're gone when you're looking at the plan, and that they're all replaced. We're looking to replace them with either green giant, arborvitaes, cedars, or hornbeam.
I'm pretty sure that the narrative does say something about removing the Leyland Cypress.
Okay. All right, maybe that could be stated on the plan, maybe, or showed on the plan that they would be removed.
Let me just to interject. The Leyland, if you would want to say what they're replaced with, but you mentioned green giants, we've actually disallowed those in the past because I don't think we are considering them to be native plants.
Well, then we won't use those.
Well, good idea. And but whatever it is, obviously it needs to be of a native variety, a native, native to the East Coast.
How are you guys with the hornbeam?
I think that's probably okay.
Yeah, that would make a nicer hedge anyway. So.
Yeah, there's an overgrown Leyland Cypress near the southwest corner. So you mentioned one, so there's more than one?
It's a group of them, yes. I'm gonna say there's 6 of them in there.
Okay. The narrative is more singular than 6, but
Sorry about that.
nope, that's fine. And then I don't know if this is a question for Lori. I had a question on the, what was it? The Father Gilla. I am not familiar with that one, and Crystal couldn't find anything that said that it was specifically native.
I think it is.
Laurie here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I try to use natives all the time, but I'm just gonna look here in my book to see if it's in here. Actually, it's native to Eastern Mass.
Perfect.
Eastern USA, sorry. So it's not necessarily a New England native, but it is native considered an Eastern United States native. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, I don't think we typically get too down in the weeds as to whether or not it's a local eagle type.
Yeah.
Native to Massachusetts, native to the Northeast.
It's listed under in the book that our industry has used for, 25 years. It's considered a native plant, but whether you specify it to New England or Eastern New England is how it used to be. And then they got a little more specific to New England natives. So I don't know how specific you would want to get, but
we don't have any official guidelines on that, right? Do you think, is that what you think, Janet, in terms of how far field natives in the U.S. can and should be for us?
It's been a tough question that has bugged me from time to time. I'm just looking on our approved lists to see if it's on any of them. We have the Barnstable County one, we have the Massachusetts CZM, those are all for coastal, and APCC's list. Of course, it makes me have to go through a search. It would help. I'll check it out while I'm doing it. I don't want to take time, but
yeah, we can work that out. But
we can definitely work that out.
I've actually had some of those in our yard, but not in Massachusetts, but down in Virginia. They're well known down there. Okay, is that Mary? Your hand is up from the previous time.
Yes, it should not be up.
Okay. All right. So looking at I think most of what I had my notes has been talked about. The only thing is, and David, I think you could tell me, there's a retention basin going in, but I couldn't, and maybe it's shown on the site plan, but I couldn't see it. Where in general is that work?
So on my site plan, you'll see the big bullseye in the driveway. So that's
that's it. Okay.
That's the leach pit, and then off to the left of that is a pipe going to a catchment, just a small gutter inlet, and then to the right of that, there's a pipe going up to the corner board of the house. So the idea is to try to get that catchment as low down the driveway as possible and pipe it to the leach pit.
So it's heading, oh, okay.
It looks like it's going downhill, but we'll put the pit sufficiently deep that we'll have gravity feed from that catchment back to it.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think that's.
Someone else has their hand up, Bob. MS.
Let me switch away from my notes here. Who is that? Who? All I see is Mary's hand.
Oh.
She says
Well,
that she doesn't. She know. Mary, you can unraise your hand. There you go. So I don't think I have anything else. Yeah. Okay. So we have a few minor changes, it sounds like, to the site plan. No, it's to the planning plan, actually, to get rid of that confusing pink and green. You know, I was stuck on that too.
Well, the hard copy shouldn't have that.
Ah.
Not all of us are hard copy people.
Yeah, but I did send Nikki the right plan
Okay.
because the one on the screen doesn't have the plant sizes on it either, and Lori did provide the size, and that was important for the record too. So I just sent Nikki the proper plan. It's similar to this one as far as the scope of the project, just a little more detail on the sizes of the plants that are proposed.
That's good. All right. Seems like a fairly straightforward project, and we're going to work out the snag question at the on-site meeting with Nikki, and do a little research on some of the native plants. One thing that another applicant has submitted today, which is, you know, I will be giving them accolades, is that in their planning schedule, and I'm going to try to start asking everyone who submits planning plans and planning schedule, they asterisked or somehow denoted in their plant schedule which are native, or you can do it which are not native. It helps immensely so that we don't have to go through and do lookups. And also, I think it helps those who are submitting these schedules just sort of make sure they have it right with regard to what are natives and what are not. Anyway, just a request going forward. I think it's actually a great practice. All right. Anything else from anyone? If not, I think with some minor changes, we could go to. Oh, we get a text from Laurie saying she can do that in the future. Thank you. Are we in position to move this to a work session just with those fairly minor changes that we've talked about? It would seem that we could. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, you just have to note on the replacement trees that are going in with where the Leyland Cypress are and so forth too.
And what they're being replaced with not being Jolly Green Giants.
Look like emerald green arborvitaes on the plan.
Oh, it is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's different. That's different. I thought I heard Tim say Jolly Green.
I did. I had said Green Giant, but I think we'll actually switch those to, like I was saying, the hornbeam.
Hornbeam. Okay. And you can just so note in your plan.
Okay.
All right. So.
Yep. So that would be December 1st then for a continuance.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we continue 158 Old Field Bend to, what was that, Nikki? I'm sorry, the date.
December 1st.
December 1st.
Terry Sullivan seconds.
For, order of conditions.
Right. Yes, thank you both. Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we'll see you on the 1st.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a notice of intent for 85 Cockle Drive, George and Susan Foote, map 5D/1-SM-I-15. What a weird parcel. SE 10, again, we don't have SE numbers for these. Demolish and rebuild a single family dwelling and mitigation plantings.
Good afternoon, David Little from Ryder and Wilcox.
Good afternoon, David.
I'm here with Teresa Sprague, and also the Foots are attending the meeting as well. We are proposing to raise and replace a very modest home on a small lot in South Chatham. The site plan, although it's difficult to see on the screen, but on the paper copies I delivered, the existing footprint was noted in red, whereas the proposed dwelling is in black to provide somewhat of a contrast so you can see what's existing and what is proposed. The footprint dwelling is increasing by 382 square feet. It's going from 1,099 to 1,481. The grades on the site will remain essentially the same, with the exception of the southwest corner, where we are proposing 3 retaining walls to accommodate the addition, which is proposed to be built on the south end of the dwelling. The retaining walls are 3 feet in height, and they will create 2 terraces in which Teresa has proposed mitigation plantings, which can go in that area. So I think the terracing still allows for a significant area to provide additional wildlife mitigation. The location of the septic system to the west and the coastal bank and flood zone to the east, it leaves the southwest corner of the property is really the only available location for expansion. So the new foundation is going to be approximately a ½ foot higher than what presently exists. I think the existing foundation is a little low, and it would benefit the site by raising it up about a ½ foot. The project also includes the construction of a 12-foot deep deck on the east side of the structure, as shown on the plan. Currently, there are steps that go out that side of the house that provide access to the lawn. We will be eliminating those and constructing a deck a couple of feet above grade in that area, which will in turn kind of confine the human activity on the site to that area and keep it out of the flood zone and keep it off the coastal bank. So that would be my presentation. I'd like to turn it over to Teresa to explain the land management portion and planting plan. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Hi, good afternoon. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flax Design. So we've got a mix here of invasive species management and restoration and lawn removal and native planting to mitigate for the proposed increase in structure. Overall, we're looking at 3,100 or just over 3,100 square feet total of native planting, of which 1,910 square feet of that area is existing lawn that will be removed and planted with native vegetation within the 50-foot buffer. The invasive species that we have on site that we've noted are Asiatic bittersweet multiflora rose, and then there are some aggressive species including greenbrier, raspberry, and some poison ivy that we'd be proposing to manage around areas where people will be walking or potentially have contact with the poison ivy. There's also a number of non-native species, and while not invasive, we're proposing to remove some of the non-natives on site and replant those areas with native vegetation. That includes Rose of Sharon, which can be particularly aggressive, forsythia, miscanthus grass, which is on the invasive species watch list, and one blue Atlas cedar, which is located in the northeast corner of the property that is currently broken in a degraded state. We are required, or we will be required, to remove a number of trees in the southwest corner to allow the construction of the retaining wall. We have 13 trees that we've noted. We did go out and someone from my office met with Nikki yesterday, and we did note that one of the trees we had flagged was just over the property line. We had flagged those trees prior to the property line being staked, so we have removed that flag. But we are proposing 10 trees, 13 trees, including pitch pines and oaks to be removed. The oaks are all fairly small caliper size oaks, so they're less than 6-inch diameter, breast height. The pitch pines are all fairly good sized canopy trees. We're proposing to mitigate for the loss of those trees with the planting of 10 additional trees, 6 eastern red cedars and 4 amelanchier, and then to offset the other tree loss with at a 2-to-1 ratio of shrubs for the trees being removed. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the proposed mitigation or invasive species management or tree replacement. Thanks.
Thanks, Teresa. I think I will get mine out of the way. And there were just a couple of things that jumped out at me. It is a small lot, and it's a modest increase in the rebuilt dwelling. There's no question that you're constrained by the lot size. You say that you're replacing 10 trees at a 1-to-1 ratio, and then 11 trees. I'm not sure if that's still the it may be 10 and 10, or anyway, you're taking one tree off somewhere. Replaced at a 2-to-1 ratio with shrubs. And of course, that is something that is out of the ordinary for us. I just wanted you to talk about your thinking when you made that proposal.
Sure. So we've certainly done that before, where there isn't room to fit canopy-sized trees onto a site. We've proposed to mitigate for the loss of biomass by increasing the number of shrubs where shrub planting is more appropriate than tree planting, simply due to the size of the site or the location where it's not appropriate to put trees up close against the house. We would propose shrub mitigation for tree mitigation, just to, again, maintain the wildlife habitat value of the site and to mitigate for the loss of biomass for the trees that are coming out. So that's certainly something we've done previously in Chatham and as well as in other towns. I think the big thing here is that we're looking at almost 3,200 square feet of native vegetation planting that doesn't currently exist, of which almost 2,000 square feet of that is lawn that currently goes right up to the edge of the salt marsh that will be planted to provide a robust vegetative buffer between the upland portions of the property and the salt marsh area.
Okay. You say you've done it before. I guess maybe I wasn't paying attention, but it does strike me that those are some pretty big trees, especially the pitch pines.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of the construction of the retaining walls, they will be lost with the retaining wall construction.
Right. Just wondering whether are there any other ways to truly make up the loss of those trees other than 2 shrubs. I mean, shrubs can be varying sizes. You can have small shrubs, you can have larger shrubs, you can have more shrubs, a higher ratio, and so forth.
Sure.
So I'd just like for you to, if you would, do a little thinking about how we can make up for the lost biomass. And so while, and we don't need to say anything about that right now, but just since you brought up the retaining walls, I do want to swivel back to David. What is the purpose of the retaining walls? I mean, I can sort of guess, but I don't know if it was explicitly stated.
Well, we struggled with that, Bob. We we explored putting in a, on that end of the house, on the south-facing wall, we explored constructing a foundation wall that would stick up 6 feet out of the ground. But that would have been meant a concrete wall for the applicants, and they would prefer to have a normal wood frame wall there and not have the earth going up against the house. So we looked at grading the bank back without doing any retaining walls, and we felt that slope would be too steep, and it still would have required the removal of the trees. So the problem is, in the southwest corner, the grades rise up so quickly. We were trying to do it in a manner that would allow the construction of a normal wood frame dwelling with a normal foundation. And we did explore other options, but this is what the Foots and their builder recommended us to go with for the design.
Okay. So you're saying that whether you have the retaining walls or not, most likely the tree loss would have been similar.
I would have expected with the necessary grading, yes, we would have lost the trees.
Okay. So it has nothing to do with water coming down that steep slopes per se, but more that you're moving the house is expanding towards the slope, so therefore you need some way of.
Exactly. I don't believe there are any stormwater runoff issues. It's very sandy soil here, and then additionally, we do show a couple of dry wells on our plan that will be connected to gutters and downspouts for appropriate infiltration of stormwater from the roof.
Okay. All right, got it. The only other thing I have is that's a bittersweet haven on that property. Both, giant bittersweet vines growing up those pine trees, which it would seem that those should be cut. I guess this is for Teresa, whether there are plans in your plan to address those. And
Yes.
Similarly, it looks like there's just a tremendous amount of bittersweet even in the lawn area.
Yes, we are proposing to selectively treat and remove the bittersweet. Yep, we will be removing the bittersweet, the multiflora rose. It will be managing greenbrier in areas where it's starting to grow fairly aggressively, where there's been consistent disturbance in the past, as well as the other species that I named previously. So that is part of the management plan. So that's why we stated of the entire area that we're restoring, 2,000 square feet of it is lawn, that we're transitioning to native planting, and then the rest of that area is invasive species and non-native plant removal and restoration of native vegetation.
Okay. All right, I think that's what I have for the moment. I'll open it up to Bob.
Yes. First of all, David, hi, how are you?
Good, Bob, thank you.
The driveway is within the 50. And I was wondering if that could be converted to pervious material. Right now it's paved.
We would certainly be open to a condition of that.
Okay. And
the entire driveway within Cockle Drive, or just the portion that extends onto our property?
Yeah, just that actual driveway. I think it's like 2 spaces wide, maybe.
So something in the way of pavers, pervious pavers?
Pervious pavers, I think, would work. Or, maybe an apron along the road, along Cockle Drive, and then, with cobbles or something, and then the rest, stone or shell.
Yeah, we could look at that.
Okay, and Teresa, in the planting schedule on the plan on the eastern red cedar, it says quantity 6, but when I look at the plan, I think I'm looking at 10. So maybe you can straighten me out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see 6. They're located on the northeastern portion of the lot. So they're running along the parallel with Cockle Cove Drive. With the one cedar native eastern red cedar replacing the degraded blue atlas cedar in the northeast corner.
Okay, I see them now. Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
look.
we're under planting, so we're really trying to plant that edge very thickly with shrubs and layering trees. And then as we wrap around on the east side of the property, there's a number of existing pitch pines that will remain.
Okay.
So then we're under planting those with native shrubs.
Okay, and the mitigation areas will be demarcated.
We can do that, yes.
Okay, and also the coastal bank runs right up near the house, and and then there's right now there's a Cape Cod lawn in place there, which is good. But I was wondering, are the homeowners, will the homeowners be using that space for sitting and so forth? Will the family be using that area?
The topography doesn't really lend itself to that, Bob. I think they would have to go well down toward the mitigations the mitigation area if they wanted to put a lawn chair out to sit.
Okay.
But as I mentioned earlier, there are steps that come out of the existing dwelling on that side of the house, which are now being removed.
Okay.
And I think the activity is intended to be confined pretty much to the deck. That's why we're proposing a deck where one doesn't exist.
Okay, terrific. Well then, would it be possible to demarcate where that coastal bank, the top of the coastal bank is, and is it possible to let that lawn grow long, or plant something else in its place just to kind of, let that area grow natural?
I'm certainly open to discussing that with the property owners. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Bob,
Yep.
if I could ask one more question in that regard. So if it was something that was mowed on a yearly or semi-yearly basis to maintain a naturalized feel, is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, I could live with that myself. Up high,
Yeah.
mowed high. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. We can come up with something for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Janet.
Following on from what Bob was just asking about. So what lawn will be left on the site when it's done?
So we were proposing the area that's just shown that's not colored right now, that's shown in white, would be the existing Cape Cod lawn, which we were proposing to remain. But we can certainly, with Commissioner Del Vecchio's feedback, we can certainly take another look at that.
Yep. Especially when you're in the area where it's on the coastal bank. Even a Cape Cod lawn on the coastal bank is not necessarily a good addition there.
Yeah.
And I just want to double check the numbers. So the note will be changed. So it's not 14 pitch pines, it's 13 because one is not on the site, and 7 oaks for a total of 20 trees coming out.
That's correct. So we did make a revision yesterday after Title met with Nikki at the site, and we removed and we made the note that it's 13. So the number of pitch pines to be removed is reduced to 13 from 14.
Okay. And yes. So the 20 and 10 trees will be going in. They're listed as 10 gallons. Can you give me an idea of what the size of those are?
They are. So a 10-gallon tree is probably going to come in at a 5 to 6 foot height.
Okay. All right.
Just a note, Title and I also, there was a smaller oak right along the property line that we thought may be able to be saved. It was questionable, so I wouldn't necessarily remove it from the narrative or anything, but we are going to try and save that one as well. It was probably like a 5-inch one, I would guess.
Okay, perfect. We can put that note, we can add that as a note to protect that tree.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thanks, Janet. Anyone else? See no other hands. So it looks like the comments all mostly revolve around the changes that we are expecting or revolve around the mitigation plan. And just swiveling back to my concern, Teresa, about the 2-to-1 or two shrubs for a tree thing. I don't know if there's any, I'm just going to say again that if there's a way for you to replace more of the ecological value of those fairly large trees being removed, that would be most welcome whenever you're looking at the revisions.
Sure, we'll take another look at that and make any changes we can for the next hearing. Thanks.
All right. So with that,
Bob, could I just ask one question, please?
Sure.
So Bill Litchfield is attending this. He's going to be going to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And it seems to me that most of these issues, including the driveway and the things that Teresa is going to delve into, are most likely approvable items that we can check off at hopefully at the next hearing. I just would like maybe a positive nod for Bill moving forward. If that's at all possible.
You want your letter saying it can go to zoning, right?
Something along those lines, Nikki.
Yeah, the letter thing, I actually went off in a rant last hearing about how I don't understand. It seems like it's a tradition here that predated me on the commission. I don't understand the point of it, because if I'm on the zoning board, I shouldn't care what the Conservation Commission feels about the project. And if I'm on the Conservation Commission, I shouldn't care what the zoning board feels. So I don't get the letter thing, but I think my sense from this particular discussion is that we don't have any significant issues with the project other than some niggles over the mitigation issues.
And I think that's all we need.
Okay, good. Bill has his hand up. Let's see if he agrees with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill Litchfield. And David was gracious to request that I get a positive nod, something to which I'm not accustomed. But and maybe this might be helpful in sort of a general way. One of the criteria that the Zoning Board of Appeals uses is the effect on the natural environment of the proposal that they are considering. And accordingly, it is both traditional and a longstanding matter of practice that on anything within 100 feet of anything even damp, they look for a comment from the Conservation Commission. You may also be aware that a former member, I think, in fact, the chairman of your commission, now serves on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and he has some strong opinions on what ought to be stated in the Conservation Commission recommendation. I don't echo or share or comment on that at all. I'm simply explaining the process as it has been. So if there can be that affirmative nod, I'll leave you in peace.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the background, because I really haven't heard any explanation as to why we do this. But I didn't realize the zoning board wanted to know what we thought about the. I don't know. I guess they're interested in knowing if we see it as a ecologically valid project. And okay, that's fine. But my sense is they don't necessarily turn projects down because we say that or because we don't. But nevertheless, you get a 2 thumbs up, I think, on our ultimate disposition of this project.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. So generally, when Sarah Clark in the community development side sends me her agenda, I just go through each line item and I say whether it has to go to conservation, whether it doesn't, or if it's in the process or it's been approved. So, I mean, I basically give her a one-liner every zoning meeting. So,
Okay.
so far they've been fine with that. I haven't had any requests for any more detail. She did say that there was the zoning member that is very interested in conservation, and both of our responses were, if you want a huge amount of detail, you can request it personally from me or watch the meetings. So that seems to have been fine for now.
Okay. Very good. So I guess we need a motion then for
Okay, with November 17th, Nikki?
Nope, December 1st, work session, or wait. I mean, it's up to you. Did you want to see revised plans first?
I think that's wise.
it probably is in this case. I mean, I think it's all going to wind up good, but there's enough here where I think we'll be interested in reviewing it.
I think
it won't delay the project. I mean, it's going to be December 1st for the order either way, so.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we continue 85 Cockle Drive to the next hearing on November 17th, 2021.
Sullivan seconds that.
Oh, very good. Roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I voted aye.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay, next up is 497 Orleans Road, William Marsh. Trustee, map 13I, parcel 7-4. Decommissioned several inactive recovery and monitoring wells on Mass DEP, the Mass contingency plan site.
Good afternoon. My name is Harrison Swift. I work for Environmental Strategies and Management. We're an environmental consultancy that has been conducting the recovery of number 6 fuel oil at the former Acme laundry site that many of you may have been aware of that used to reside on this property. That recovery effort is now over, and the site continues in compliance with the Massachusetts contingency plan and is a temporary solution and requires a 5-year review that it cannot be permanently closed. Its last review was 2020. Its next review will be 2025. At its last review, it was determined that the wells were no longer needed and can be removed with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 on the down gradient side of the property for monitoring purposes. And so we are representing the applicant, Robert Cox, who's the attorney for former Acme laundry entity. And the property has been sold, and the property owner is the Eastwood Company. So this is a property that, quite different from the previous 2 applicants. We're not building anything. We're taking things away. And as you've reviewed the package that we submitted with photographs, there are various wells and structures that stick up above grade on this site in various states of disrepair that our intent is to remove and in a way that is approved by the Massachusetts DEP, abandoning in a way that they deem appropriate. As you can see from this plan, the yellow zone is a 50-foot buffer from the coastal bank. The green represents the 5100. Purple is 100 to 200, and the dashed line is the is the floodplain. Nicole, if you could go to the next slide, please.
I believe I have them all as separate ones. So which one would you?
Okay.
No, never mind.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So this is a aerial overview of the site. The structure on the site is the former recovery building where we pumped the recovered fluids and collected the oil that was recovered. The arrows represent the general topographic slope, and those yellow lines represent berms that are constructed that currently exist on the property. The one on the north side is a rough berm that is vegetated with various shrubs. The one along Orleans Road on the east side is a more manicured one with Leyland Cypress. And as you can see with that green arrow with the number 1, that is where we propose to do our primary access into the site with our equipment. And recognizing that we don't need large equipment, but we do need some mechanized equipment in here. We will be using a small track-mounted excavator, a skid steer, which is essentially a bobcat with a front-end loader, and then a 4-wheel type vehicle with a trailer to move the grout pump and appurtenances around to the various wells. So that is primary access to the lower area. There is one well outside of the that bermed area, and that's where you see the number 2 over by Frostfish Creek. That will likely be accessed by pickup truck carrying the equipment there. And as you can see, number 3, we will have a dumpster on site to collect the various pipes, broken up concrete, and other waste that we generate on site. The actual activity as we do this work will entail mixing up cement grout and using a tremie technique where we lower a tube down to the bottom of the well and pump the grout in from the bottom, displacing water to the top to ensure that we have a column of grout in the well with no water. We will excavate down maybe a foot around the well, cut off the well casing, allow the grout to settle into that depression, and then place the earth back to mix in with that grout to create a impervious zone to ensure that there isn't a preferred pathway into the well. For the trench wells and recovery wells, where we recovered the number 6 fuel oil, there may be residual fuel oil in those wells. So we will have a vacuum truck from Clean Harbors or an equivalent type contractor on site that will be located in 2 locations, depending on which recovery wells are being are being removed, and that will they will pump off that layer of oil as the grout is being tremmed in, and no oil and grout with oil will be allowed to escape the casing. So at the end of the project, our goal is to have all of the structures, the broken down dog houses that were over the recovery wells will be removed. There'll be the cement pads will be removed, and the land will be turned back and much more available for use by the current owner. And from a erosion sedimentation perspective, in discussion with Nicole when she and I walked the site, felt that it would be reasonable to use the existing berms as mitigation for sedimentation on the downhill side, with you'll notice the green stippling for location of siltation fencing and straw wattles at that break between the natural berm on the north side of that opening where the number 1 arrow is, and the manicured berm on the south side, and then another one over to the west end of the berm, over a little bit west of the number 2. You'll also see that there are a couple of straw wattle placements in the zone up near the garage. There are some wells that we will be abandoning up in those areas, and I put those up there as what I call placeholder, that we will put straw wattle and siltation fencing around the areas where we will be working, and the exact location of the wells will, for example, the one that is furthest south of those two is I cannot find. So I think it may be already abandoned by the construction of Frostfish Hill Road. It will be a work in progress. And I think the last thing that I'll say before I turn this over to questions is that at the entrance where we want to bring the equipment in, number 1, while I was out there flagging the site, I noticed that there are a couple of locusts, maybe 3 to 4 inches in diameter, that we would like to take down in order to gain access for the skid steer, the front end loader. And I live in Eastham, and my experience with cutting down locusts is that wait a year and you'll have 3 locusts coming out of that stump. And I would like your forbearance to allow us to cut the locust, cut the invasive, and allow it to do its thing in the coming years and come back. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. Janet has her hand up right away, so we'll go to Janet.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to thank Mr. Swift. As you know, I went back to my notes after I saw this and said, why do I remember this? And went back and sure enough found all the notes from the, I guess it was October of 2019 or so, request for a determination of applicability, in which we asked all of these questions about what is the process for removing these wells. How does this all work? What about the oil? And all of the things that you've answered. So thank you for addressing all of those questions. As I read through it, I just want to be sure I understand. There's different terminology that is used, and I wonder whether they all mean the same thing in terms of the wells. Removal, decommissioning, and abandonment. So is any part of the wells remaining in place? And if so, how much?
Yes, and removal should not have been, the removal is the surface, anything at grade, or above, and down to a depth of maybe 1 foot will be removed. Anything from 1 foot down to the bottom of the well will be remaining in the ground. And that portion of the well, whether it's recovery well, trench well, or monitoring well, will be filled with a cement grout to prevent it being a preferred pathway for any sort of infiltration.
And it's just grout. Last time we were confused by a reference to the grout being mixed with sand somehow, and what the effect of that would be.
Well, the grout in the well will be straight cement slurry grout. It will be allowed to overflow into that excavated area around the PVC pipe that comes up out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then that area soil will be allowed we'll put the soil back in, and that will naturally mix with some of the grout, and which is fine. It will create the same impervious plug that we want to have.
Okay. I heard you mention in the beginning something that I've been thinking about, which is the possibility of keeping some of the wells that are closest to Frostfish Creek at the bottom of the gradient there for continued monitoring, and that makes sense. And as I look at the plan, the diagram, so I see monitoring well 13, monitoring well 2. What is a GZ well? What is GZ 15?
It is just another monitoring well that was installed by another company that chose to put, I think it was Gilbert Joyno or GZA, and I think they put their initials, and rather than M, they put GZ in front. Okay. So it just indicates the age. It's one of the original wells. And the groundwater gradient at the site is essentially goes from on this map, from the gray building to essentially directly towards the top of the map, directly north.
Mm-hmm.
So the wells that we would be thinking about leaving in place would be in the range of that MW2, MW25, MW21. And, this is part of the work that we will be doing while we're out there, is sounding the wells. As you might imagine, that they are not labeled and they have not been monitored lately. And one person who was out there who knew the site very well went out there and said, oh boy, it sure has changed. And so we will be going out there sounding them to identify which one is which, and make the determination from a condition perspective, which ones are the appropriate ones that we want to keep. And that's why I'm not saying we're saving this one, this one, this one.
I totally, I understand that completely, but you just cleared up my confusion about how the groundwater runs on this site. It does not go to Frostfish Creek. It instead flows down gradient to the north into whatever name of that embayment is on the other side of Route 28.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes sense. Okay. That's all I have for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Yes, I do have this memory of reviewing all this before, and it's one of those projects that is sort of it's been ongoing for a long, long time. It sort of is what it is. Mr. Swift, what is the projected endpoint for this project, if there is one?
It's one of these frustrating things, Ms. Rawls. Where number 6 fuel oil is really heavy end fuel oil. It's not terribly recoverable. In fact, the recovery of 9,000 gallons at this site is one of the largest volumes ever recovered of number 6 fuel oil. And the challenge associated with this is that the rule of thumb is that, for every gallon that you recover, there are 2 gallons that are left in the ground adsorbed to soil, coating soil grains, etc. And it's the fact of the matter is that it is not a risk to people in its current form, and that's why the DEP has allowed a temporary solution to be filed, but it's not a permanent solution because that residual mass remains, and that the reason they require a 5-year review is because technology advances, and 5 years from now, what we're saying is a technical impossibility in 5 years may be quite possible. And that's what we were hoping, that in 5 years, maybe we will be coming back to you with a fresh request to do something invasive to do more work to get this thing done.
Okay, so in essence, it's just ongoing.
Ongoing, but at this point, it's on a somewhat on.
Oh, some sort of massive feedback just happened.
Wow, I don't think that was me.
All right. Again, there's somebody's got a speaker on feeding back into there. Yeah. Okay. Another question: is the water sampled in the embayment or in Frostfish Creek or any adjacent water body for the presence of chemicals that might be from this source? Looks like you were.
And I'm pausing so that I can answer you as accurately as I can.
Appreciate it.
I joined the company a year and a half ago, and any such sampling would have been done well before I joined the company. But I can assure you that this site would not have passed muster to achieve a temporary solution without being able to answer a variety of very strict questions regarding, impact to human health, impact to natural resources, et cetera. So I am certain that it has been sampled and that the impact to natural resource has been evaluated, but I cannot cite chapter and verse.
So as far as your project is not sampling the water, and you're not aware of any that's sampling the water, then I mean for
correct. At this point, our job is essentially every 5 years to dust it off, evaluate where the technology has gone in the 5 years that have ensued since we looked at it in 5 years past, and say, what has changed in the 5 years? Has technology advanced to a point where what was infeasible 5 years ago is now feasible to address? And that's the way the MCP works.
Okay. All right, thank you. It would seem, I don't know, just from a naive perspective, it would be good to every once in a while know whether or not the number 6 soil is being detected in those water bodies, but I don't know the ins and outs of this program.
Well, what I can tell you is that that was established as part of achieving the temporary solution. That there were, in order to achieve a temporary solution, one must reach a point where there are multiple sampling rounds that demonstrate no downgradient migration, no change, et cetera. And that's the thing about this, that heavy end oil is that the soluble portion of it is very small, and that you generally have a very low dissolved plume associated with number 6 fuel oil as compared to a gasoline, which has a much greater soluble portion.
Okay, so the assumption is it's not migrating very quickly if it's migrating.
And there isn't much to migrate, and it was well established not to be migrating at the time it achieved temporary solution.
All right, that helps, eases my mind a bit. Bob?
Hi, Mr. Swift. I just got a couple of questions. First of all, the land will never be buildable, correct?
It's my understanding that it would, within the conditions of the temporary solution and whatever restrictions are placed on the land relative to that temporary solution.
Okay, so if it were excavated for a foundation, say, I mean, they would be excavating those capped recovery wells, correct?
That would be one of the things that they would have to manage.
Okay, and why, initially to clean up the site, why wasn't that soil just excavated and removed and treated? Why the wells?
Well, because just from a cost benefit perspective, that it is far more cost effective to recover the mobile fraction of the released fuel oil. And then at this point, I mentioned that there's generally twice that volume of fuel oil. That doesn't mean twice that volume of soil. It's just a massive volume of soil, and at this stage, that it's just from a fiscal perspective is not feasible.
Okay, so at some point it could be built upon that property.
Correct. With, as I said, with the restrictions of the activity and use limitation that is on it.
Okay, and just one other quick question. You mentioned all the physical piping, and you referenced the those little structures as dog houses. Those will all be removed and cleaned up.
That is correct. The one structure that will remain is that is a garage type structure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Bob, you made me think of another question. I'll just ask one more, Mr. Swift, if you wouldn't mind. Water table, I assume this substance reached and still reaches the water table there? Or is that an incorrect assumption, or does anyone know?
Ms. Rawls, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just curious about, did and is that fuel oil in the water table?
Yes, it is. That's where we have been recovering it from. The typically what occurs when you have a petroleum leak from a tank or a pipe or what have you, is that if it's an ongoing source, it will percolate downward through the unsaturated zone in the soil to a point of water saturation, at the top of the water table where it will start to accumulate.
Yeah.
And that's where it reaches a point where if there is enough of it, it will start to become mobile. And that's what happened here. And it started to migrate from the old laundry building, which was somewhere up in the area of that garage, and migrated with the water table to the north. And the as the map shows, the recovery wells and the recovery trench are to the north, down gradient from there.
Okay. Pretty bad. And it would seem, I guess, well, anyway, no more to be said about it. It's really not a project that's under our auspices, so to speak. It's just what we're talking about here is the work that you're performing, whether or not it meets with our conservation standards. So I don't know if you have any outstanding issues. You did ask at one point whether or not you can, you're not flush cutting the locusts, you're just sort of cutting, you want to cut them so that machinery can pass over?
Correct. I think there are 2, maybe 3 that are located right in that area, that gap between the two bermed areas circled in yellow along Orleans Road, near where where that arrow is pointing.
Right.
And the intent would be to do a cut as close to ground surface as possible.
I did wonder why not you're just coming down through the drive from the parking lot, but is that just not feasible for you to get where you need to go?
Well, there are a couple of reasons. One, I looked at the site and that was my assessment. And actually, your point's well taken. The map that we showed that there was 2. We will be accessing a portion of some of the recovery wells from the parking lot. My objective was that there's a reasonable slope from that upper zone, basically where you see the number 3 down to number 1, that sandy area that's showing where the heads of the arrows are. That was at some point in the past, that area was excavated for sand and gravel, and so that's very flat. And that you can see on the western side, I've indicated where there is they excavated actually past the property line, and there's pretty steep escarpment where they excavated up to. And my concern from a lay perspective, I'm a geologist, not a wetlands or what have you person, was that if we're doing a lot of traversing up and down that slope, we'll be doing more damage. So I figured that we'd access the wells on that lower level from area 1. We'd access the wells that we could from area 3, going from the top, and that really try to minimize the going back and forth up and down that slope.
Okay, yeah, I see your logic, so I was just curious about it. So, Terry, you have your hand up. You're muted.
Yep.
You're still
Sorry.
muted. Oh,
I have a quick question. I don't know how many people remember what it was like before driving by there with the smell and so forth. And I always thought that that building was there to get rid of the smell in the water when you drove by it, when it was a laundromat, and then for years afterwards. And my question to you is, how did the smell go away? And if it's not relevant, or we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but that's my question.
How does what go away?
Maybe not. There was for years when that was a laundromat.
Yeah.
And after, I believe that but I'm not sure, that the detergent went into the water. And I thought, I guess not. I thought that building was there to get rid of the smell of the detergent, not to get rid of the number 6 fuel oil.
Well,
so all my question is, and if you don't know, that's fine. I just didn't. How did the smell in the water go away? This was probably 30 years ago or so when it burned down.
Maybe, and again, we're going back before my involvement with this company, though I was involved with this project back at the beginning, because I was with the company that started it. It's possible that rather than build a recovery building, that just took over an existing structure that had and repurposed it.
So this has to do with I guess it's not relevant. I guess it doesn't matter. The water down there was always white in Frostfish Creek, and then it went into Riders Cove. But that was just it. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I'll say one thing and then I'll be quiet. That might be a reason why the recovery was so good, because it's been in the literature. One way that you can improve recovery of separate phase fuel oil is using surfactants, or detergents. So if there was existing detergent in the water there, that might have aided the recovery.
Yeah, there definitely was. All right.
Interesting.
Thank you. Okay. Do we need a motion or anything?
If that was a question, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
Do we need? Is there anything we need to do on this?
Yes, it is an order of conditions. So we do need a motion to move to the December 1st work session to do the order of conditions.
Okay, everyone's on mute here. Can I make a motion?
You're right. I'm on. You're right. I'm on mute. I muted myself. I'm sorry. Yes, order conditions. We can have a motion, Bob, and I guess at that point we can figure out what to do about those locust trees. I'm sure that we can do something for you there.
Okay, Bob's still on mute.
No, I'm not.
I think it's contagious. Okay, so anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we continue 497 Orleans Road to the work session on December 1st, 2021.
And Terry Sullivan seconds that motion.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, Mr. Swift.
Well, thank you very much.
Next is the notice of intent for 68 Shell Drive, Katama Point LLC, map 14K. Oh, no, sorry. 136 Bucks Creek. Howard Meshnick and Leslie Roth, trustees, map 8B, parcel S51, SE 10-3514. Demo of the dwelling and construction of a new dwelling.
Good afternoon, David Clark, Clark Engineering. I believe Teresa is on too. The meeting was continued for several reasons. One was for me to upgrade. Revise the site plan so it clearly shows the jurisdictional lines and what we're actually proposing within land subject to coastal storm flowage. So that's been done, and I believe you had questions regarding mitigation as well as tree removal, and I think Teresa's addressed that. Am I correct, Teresa?
Yes, that's correct. Although this technically isn't mitigation because all of the structure is outside of the jurisdictional area, outside of the floodplain. So this is really restoration and just improvement of the protection of the resource area.
Right. So, Teresa, but you did submit changes. I guess most
We
of the
did.
changes came from your side. If you'd like to just highlight those for.
Yeah, absolutely. So we noted on the plan that we are proposing to remove 10 damaged pitch pines within the floodplain and 4 damaged pitch pines outside of jurisdictional areas, and those are marked on the plan. We are adding 8 additional trees to the plan for a total of 10 trees proposed for replanting. We've also increased the total shrub planting from 62 to 68 shrubs. And we've increased the total planting area overall from 6,050 square feet to 6,480 square feet. We included the area on the north side of the property along Indian Trail, where the invasive species management is within the roadway layout, but connected to the invasive vegetation that's on this property. We will be taking care of that invasive vegetation as well. And we're adding 10 eastern red cedar trees and 2 white oaks. Additionally, we're planting a thicket of clethra, inkberry holly, winterberry holly, and northern bayberry at the edge of the road. So between the structure and the edge of the road. And we're removing a substantial area of lawn and planting that out as meadow. And adding additional switchgrass and perennials in that planting area.
Okay, thank you. My notes vary from what you just said with regard to the trees. Your plan now. You say now. I thought your revised plan said you're planting 12 trees. You just said 10.
No, we're removing 10 damaged pitch pines. So at the last hearing, Janet had asked us to go back and take a look at some of the other trees that had English ivy crawling up into them. And we agree that they're likely not going to be long surviving trees. So we're proposing to remove those. And then Bob, you had asked us to increase the number of trees that we were proposing to plant. So we've added 8 more trees. So now we're proposing to plant 12 trees total.
Okay. All right. That's what I had. Okay. I got mixed up by the number 10 there. Okay. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and open this up for follow-up questions. I don't see any.
I got a question, Bob.
Well, go ahead, Bob, since you spoke, and then we'll have Janet.
Sorry, Janet.
I think you beat her to the buzzer.
You did. You buzzed first.
We when we met yesterday, we talked about that grove of 5 small pines that are in the view area from the patio to the water. And Teresa, you said that they were kind of diseased or sickly or something.
They've been previously cut and topped. So they're you can, obviously they've been managed in the past. They're not in good health. They are very sickly. All of the pitch pines on this site are infested with turpentine beetle. So that's why we're proposing to manage them now. We're not proposing to plant any other pitch pines on this site. We're proposing to plant oaks and eastern red cedars.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Janet.
He stole my question. That was my question was whether I was checking my notes to see that the pitch pines that are slated for removal are all show infestation from turpentine beetle impacts, correct?
They do, and they're all in serious decline. And in addition to that, add the having been smothered by the English ivy, they're just very degraded trees.
Okay. And just, am I seeing this right? Are the 2 white oaks going in, are those 2/3 of an inch or 2 to 3 inch caliper?
2 to 3 inch caliper.
I'm sitting here going, I just don't think that's possible.
No, 2 to 3 inch caliper trees.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Bob, is that a new hand or is that an old hand? Okay, I think it's an old hand. You're muted, but your hand went away, so I assume that's right. So I'm going to ask. I just want to give a shout out to whoever. I think I mentioned this in a previous application. On the planning schedule, marked with an asterisk. Is this the one, or am I shouting out to the wrong people? Shoot.
I think you're shouting out to the wrong people because
I am.
Everything we're proposing here is native.
Okay, it already is. It already is.
Right project, wrong plan.
Right. So anyway, yeah, I like it, even if it's for a different reason. Yeah, so I appreciate the fact that you added the trees. That helps me out. I don't hear any other substantive problems with the project as proposed at this point in time. So hearing none, I think we can go ahead and move forward.
I think Andrew, the landscape architect.
Well, I think he was just.
He went away though.
Yeah.
That is on my plan. The asterisks for the native plant.
That's your. Oh, very good. Very good.
So,
I knew it was in this.
And I just want to add one comment to that.
Okay.
There's an area that I had originally before Teresa got involved. I put a row of winterberry along the fence line that's shown on my plan. But Teresa's planting is going to supersede that, so that hedge will not be there because her planting is displacing that.
Okay.
Okay, it's a minor thing.
Right. Oh, while we're the scan quality of the land management plan that I have, and I'm a digital only person, for some reason came out very fuzzy in places, and some of the pages are upside down and so forth. I don't know if that was on our end or whether it's on your end, but if it's on your end, would it be possible to resend that document?
One way or the other, we'll absolutely resend it.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of upside down pages, and as I say, quite fuzzy in areas. I don't know what happened. Something.
Okay, I'll double check that. I'm looking at it right now, and it appears to be fine on our end, so I'll resend it.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
All right, Bob.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we continue 136 Bucks Creek to the work session for an order of conditions on December 1st, 2021.
Terry Sullivan seconds that.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you both.
Thank you.
All right, so I cannot share my screen anymore. My internet has seemed to died. I'm on the phone. We have next up 68 Shell Drive, Katama Point LLC, map 14K, parcel W50, SE 10-3466. Construction of a new dwelling and relocation of driveway and existing barn. They are on for zoning on the 18th, I believe. But they did want to discuss the plan and just, more or less, we've approved this, but we have been waiting for a final plan. So hopefully this is close to that. So I leave it to David Clark.
Thank you, Nikki. David Clark for the record. Teresa is also here. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because, as Nikki said, you were just waiting for us to close out with zoning board, but we got beat up pretty good at zoning board. So this is a dramatically different plan than what you saw last spring. I think last spring we were totaling 11,000 square feet of increase on this property. We're down to a little over 5,100, and the buildings themselves got smaller by 1,600. So you're looking at basically a 6,000 square foot reduction. So we've shrunk up the project, and it's moved further away from the true coastal resource areas, the bank and the secondary dune. And Teresa's also modified her mitigation and restoration plan to match, and really what we want to make sure the commission saw the same plan that zoning board's going to be looking at later on this month. So that's it. I'm not sure how. Does Teresa want to say anything about?
Sure, I can just quickly go over our changes. And again, they're all moving in the same positive direction that, as David just described. The revised plan continues to propose the same mitigation in the form of invasive species management, native plant restoration. We are looking at about 38,200 square feet of area that we're planting with native vegetation. We did increase the size of the meadow slightly as we had more opportunity on the west side of the property where the house got smaller to make the meadow larger. So that's one positive. The proposed trees to be removed for construction have been reduced. Initially, we needed to remove 20 trees for construction. We're proposing 14. And we're proposing to plant the mitigation area with 534 native shrubs, perennials, grasses, 23 native trees. And the landscape areas directly around the house will have 452 native shrubs, perennials, grasses, and 6 native trees. So there's a significant amount of native planting going on. We do have some non-native species. I apologize, I did not highlight those with asterisks, but I'm going to shout out to Andrew Garrelay. We will steal that idea. That's fantastic. And we'll put credits to Andrew on all of our plans from now on. So we do have a couple of non-native species, mainly just more ornamental species around the front door area of the house. So happy to answer any questions about the changes we've made.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it looks like the project, at least as presented here, is moving even further in our direction in terms of the amount of mitigation for the amount of increase and so forth. And I get so in the planning plan, the green is of course mitigation. But there are plantings that are not in green. I guess we would consider that foundational planting, or what in your business you call typical plantings.
Yeah, so the area in green is invasive species management. So those are areas that are completely overwhelmed. On the southern portion of the property where the guest house is going to be located, the septic area that's shaded in dark green, that's significantly invaded by Japanese knotweed. So we'll be removing invasive vegetation. So, and then really located all around the edges, the area in the lighter green, yellow color, that's all going to be, that's existing lawn that's going to become meadow area. And then there's a significant amount of planting going around the guest house and the main structure and the garage. And that's mainly native vegetation with a few, like I said, non-invasive, but ornamental species.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yes, and it all looks pretty good to my eyes. An honest effort was made to stay as native as possible. Let's go ahead and open it up, and let's go to Janet.
Yes, I am pleased to see what the incredible shrinking project. And I wonder, David, since the is accompanied now by the incredible shrinking driveway, what this has done, because I remember we went around and around and around about the amount of fill that was going to be needed to be brought into this site. And what has happened there? Has that largely negated the need for much, or is there still substantial fill?
Well, the zoning board made it pretty clear that they were going to negate any fill on this property. So, so all we're showing, and it's not considered fill under the bylaw, is material up against the foundation for planting purposes.
The landscape material.
Yep. So there is no material being brought in for the driveway. So it'll be down at existing grade. And so really the only fill, or it's the landscape material up against the foundation.
I understand the conflict that you faced between, when with zoning boards, their restrictions. If the driveway is not an unfill and it's at grade, does that present a risk? I mean, I remember in the beginning, a lot of this was designed to allow for egress by emergency vehicles if a flood were happening. Is that a risk that the homeowner is now going to take?
For the most part, yes. And actually, I think the fire chief said that it doesn't matter if the driveway is filled or not. If there's an emergency there, they're going to get to the house.
They'll come by boat.
Yeah. And one of the zoning board members has experience driving heavy trucks, and he thought you could turn something around down there the way it is now. So so that gave us clear direction as to what to do with the driveway after that meeting. So.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mary.
I just had a quick question, and maybe I didn't quite understand it when I was walking the site, but it appeared like on the plans it shows the crabapple tree and the cedar tree are remaining, but they were both tagged. Is there some rationale? I mean, what does the blue tags mean on the trees?
I think those blue tags are probably left over from the first staking. When we went out there to refresh everything, all we did was stake the building and the driveway. So prior to construction getting going out here, we will. There's always a condition to refresh all the flags, and we'll make sure all those are gone.
Okay, great.
The flags on the trees. I mean, sorry.
Okay, so I'm assuming what's on the plans is what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. How about Bob?
I just had a quick question for Teresa. There were one or two cedars that were going to be transplanted. Will those still be transplanted?
They will, yes. Everything has remained on those outer edges, and those cedar trees are noted on the eastern side. We have transplant existing small cedars from Dune.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So you still have to go to zoning, and we don't know whether this plan will be approved there. I guess there's reason to expect that it will get a more favorable reception this time than in the past. Hopefully. So
I would suggest maybe December 1st, and we will be before zoning board prior to that. And so if for some reason that gets bumped because of revisions or something, we will let you know and push it out to the first meeting in January.
Right. Okay. Sounds like a good plan. So if you would, Bob, December 1st.
Okay. Make a motion to continue 68 Shell Drive to December 1st, 2021 for an order of conditions.
Terry Sullivan seconds.
Roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. See you on the 1st, David, and good luck.
Thank you.
Next up, we have an order of conditions for 848 Fox Hill Road, Timothy and Christina Cohen, map 12L, parcel H5, SE 10-3508. That was for a demolition of the existing dwelling and rebuild a new dwelling. So that one was uploaded this morning. Sorry it was late. There's definitely some work to do on the the address, map, parcel, that kind of thing. But I think I was listening to the video and the order of condition or the special conditions and findings, and it didn't seem like we had all that much. So just let me know what changes you have.
Okay, yeah, I just saw it about a half hour before the meeting, but I think I was able to get through it. So I guess, yeah, if anybody wants to go first, go ahead. I'm going to go look through my comments, Janet.
I'll go since and I'll be editing as I'm
editing. Yes.
Yep. So I just had to I wanted to clarify in the findings. So there is a mention that the hardscape had been reduced, but because it was such a big deal, I think I would prefer to call it out in detail. So what I proposed is to add hardscape has been reduced between submittals. The original proposal called for much more extensive hardscape in response to concerns expressed by the commission. The approved plan provides for a reduction of 473 square feet in hardscape in the outer aura.
Relative to the original proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to call out that the approved mitigation will constitute a robust and sufficiently wide vegetated buffer strip along and protecting the top of the coastal bank, because that's what won my vote in the end. So I wanted to call that out. And I wanted to add in the conditions that they had agreed to that all landscaping installed in the aura will be comprised of a minimum of 50% native species.
Or even though it looks like they're offering a higher percentage, but yeah.
Right, but a minimum of, right. So can't go below that. And that's what I had.
All I had was, I think they agree. I can't remember actually, and maybe if they're on the line, they can tell me. I know we discussed demarcation of a mitigation. I can't remember what we finally agreed on. I think, Bob, you raised it as you often do. Maybe you recall what the end point of that discussion was.
No, I can't remember. No. I mean, it will be demarcated, I think.
Yeah.
It's already in the plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
The standard condition, yeah, it's in the plan. This is a standard condition that gives them the choice of stones or low fence or some sort of visible demarcation. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what they landed on.
All right.
The only thing I had was about the last order. It called for the beach grass to be planted along the coastal bank there, and it's kind of sparse now, and David said that he would be talking to the owners, and they're agreeable to plant more. Is there any way we can add anything to this order and reference the other order, or not?
Well, we could do it without even referencing the other order. If the beach grass is on the coastal bank, is it on the bank? Because that's where it is, right?
Yes.
Down the top to the beach.
Right.
Then we can, why can't we just say that the existing beach grass will be replenished? What's the right word? Otherwise we get into a big thing of having to cite the other order and wrap it in, but this is, we're talking about the BBS along the top of the bank, so it makes sense to put in a condition, especially if they've already agreed to it, to enhance the amount of quantity of beach grass.
Of the beach grass.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's all I had. Thank you.
It's like David, do you have your hand up for this?
I did. The landscape plan shows granite posts to demarcate.
Okay.
And regarding the planting of the beach grass, I doubt the Cohens would have a problem with planting the area. I just want to be careful about how it's written in that if it turns out to be an ongoing condition, now we're going to have two certificates of compliance saying the same thing.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree with David on that part. I don't want too many orders coinciding with each other.
Yep, that's my only concern. Thank you.
Maybe just addressed it as a finding then, but
I think we could do a finding referencing the previous order. It seems like that would be okay.
All right, I'm going to highlight that and leave it to you, Nikki, to supply all that number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I could do a finding that beach grass has been addressed with the previous order on whatever special condition number and that kind of thing that it is on the other open order. Or is it an open order or a COC?
I don't know.
I'll look into it. So I will reference whatever.
I'll highlight it and say, okay, this goes to you.
yeah, maybe even a sentence saying that we have found that the beach grass is sparsely.
A little sparse, yeah.
Is sparsely planted, or is sparse on the coastal bank, and that
it was agreed that they would refresh it.
Yep.
And then I'll put in the specifics of numbers and conditions and.
All right. Anything? I don't have anything else. Anybody else has any final suggestions, comments? Looks like no. So guess we're ready.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the order of conditions for 848 Fox Hill Road.
Terry Sullivan seconds that.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. Thank you, David.
Next, we have the minutes for October 13th. Bob Rawls sent his comments already. So I saw those. I don't know if anyone else has any comments.
I just have a couple of small things, Nikki. Where are they now? Oh, on 848 Fox Hill Road. The third sentence down, or the third sentence down, beach starting with beach grass. Do you see that?
Oh, oh, look, it says an ongoing condition.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. That's what David.
Yeah, so it must be an ongoing condition in the other order. Okay.
But it should be as an ongoing condition, not a ongoing condition. Just to correct the English, not that I'm perfect with English, believe me, but I picked up on that.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Let's see, what else? Oh, on 136 Bucks Creek. Let's see, plants. The second paragraph, proposing to eliminate some lawn and replace with native vegetation. And then it says remove 1185 square feet of invasive vegetation, replace with native vegetation. And the next sentence, proposing to remove some plants, should say proposing to remove pitch pines that are infested with turpentine beetle and covered with ivy vines.
Yeah.
I think that's all I had.
Okay, anybody else? Hearing none.
All set?
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for October 13, 2021.
And Terry Sullivan seconds that too.
Roll call vote, Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I vote aye. So before we adjourn, is that the last item? I believe it is. Yeah, just want to make sure everyone is at least better with calendar management than I am. We do have a meeting next Wednesday. Is that is that a hearing, Nikki, or is that a work session?
Nope, that's a hearing.
It's a hearing, okay, because it's in the title of the invite. It says meeting, so I just want to make sure. And then we don't meet on obviously the 24th. And then in December, we don't meet the last three Wednesdays according to my calendar.
I have the 17th as the last day we meet in December.
17th, wait a minute, that's
sorry. The first is a hearing, is it work session? The 10th and the 17th are hearing dates, is what I have.
Those are still Fridays. I'm talking about December right now.
Why am I looking at the wrong month?
Yeah, I was like, I think we only meet twice a month.
And the 15th.
15. Okay, so 15 is not on my calendar. That is a what? Is that a hearing?
I have it as that, but I'm not sure. It's like this one next week. It would have been scheduled on the 22nd, and I think we moved it up a week.
Okay.
But which I think is why this next one is called a meeting, because it was as normally our Wednesday off in between, but we moved it to avoid Thanksgiving.
All right, so December 1st is a work session.
Yes.
8th is a hearing and the 15th is a hearing on December. Okay.
Could I make a suggestion, Bob?
Yeah.
While we're talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
In the email title or heading or whatever you call it, would it be possible, Nikki, to, instead of just meeting, could it say either hearing and the date of the hearing? For instance, hearing November 17th, 2021. So people have the right link when they're, before the meeting. So there,
Yeah, no problem.
it gives a little
Yeah,
bit more organization.
We can definitely add hearing, work session, dates, whatever you guys would like.
That would be wonderful, just to make it a little easier for everyone, I think. Thank you.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Good idea.
Okay. Well, we're squared away to the end of the year.
Crystal and I have been working on the new meeting schedule for the next year, so we will get that to you probably, definitely before Thanksgiving, but probably earlier than that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
And Sullivan seconds that.
Let's see if anybody agrees. Roll call vote. Bob.
Aye.
Janet.
Oh,
Oh, don't string us on, Janet.
aye.
Karen.
Aye.
Terry.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
And I'll go along with an aye.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, thank you all.